Welcome back to the channel. This is Marcus Sniffles, and today we're going to be reviewing the Thunderbolts asterisk. All spoilers. There will be spoilers. We're doing all spoilers. We're not holding anything back in reviewing the new Avengers, apparently is what they're called now. So before we get into it, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. People are watching these videos or liking the videos, but you guys keep coming back and you keep forgetting to hit that subscription button. Subscribe. It's free, takes 2 seconds. You can do it while you watch the video. It's like right here at the bottom somewhere. Just hit the button while we're watching the video, while we talk about the new Avengers / Thunderbolts. So before we get into the actual movie, at the end of the movie, I'm going to kind of go through what I had 5 questions that I wanted answered at the end of this movie. So we're going to go back to that video and kind of see if this movie answered my questions and kind of reached my expectations. So if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you watched my spoiler-free review. And I did say that I did like the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I think it's a middle tier Marvel movie. But there were things in this movie that I wasn't a fan of and that I wasn't fond of. At the very beginning of the movie, when V's character is going through the Senate hearing, they talk about how, you know, as a CIA director, she shouldn't be doing all these off-the-book things and all these secret things in the shadows and whatever. And she kind of made this point about how the president became a red monster and there was no one there to stop him. And in my head, I'm like, did Captain America 4 not happen? Like, are we on a different timeline, or does Sam Wilson not exist? Like, that happened. There was an Avenger there. The leader of the Avengers was there to handle that threat. And the idea that they would just come out in the beginning of the movie and act like he isn't a thing anymore, it's just kind of like, dog, what do we, how do you allow that into the movie? It would be my thing. So I did take a lot of notes during this movie. I'm not gonna lie. Well, I took a lot of notes. I have a process when it comes to watching these movies that I know I'm going to do a video on, where I don't look at my phone throughout the movie, but I wait to the end of the movie to kind of just write all my thoughts out in my notes app. So my thoughts and feelings about this movie might be a little bit all over the place, because I just was kind of like just trying to get everything out there the way I remembered it and how I, you know, just whatever. My thought process is weird sometimes, but I guess one of my, and I know I give him a little bit of grace. I'm shooting him a little bit of bail when it comes to these types of things. But when these big events, these Avenger level threats, because we can say that Sentry and the Void, they're Avenger level threats, right? When he's doing that thing where he's taking over and voiding out all of New York City as a whole, the idea that Doctor Strange isn't notified or doesn't see anything. His academy is in New York. You know, where's Bruce Banner? Spider-Man lives in New York. Is he ever going? Well, he mentioned this. Does he know what's happening? Hawkeye lives in New York. Daredevil, Colonel Rhodes, Nick Fury. There are so many people that are out there in New York. Like, I get it. I get why Ant-Man wouldn't be notified or wouldn't understand or wouldn't know why this is happening. He lives on the West Coast. I would understand why Captain Marvel and Thor why they wouldn't be here, because they're out in space or in the galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a reason they're not here. They're not on Earth. That makes sense. But the heroes that are stationed in New York, the heroes that are stationed in New York, Captain Marvel is like right in New Jersey. The fact that they wouldn't be notified about something like this, or wouldn't have this pop up on their radar, or them not show up, it's something that I understand the studios can't just put everybody into this movie particularly, but it's kind of like there should be some sort of, like, they should at least acknowledge, like, man, it would be nice if Spider-Man showed up. He's in New York. Where's he at? Like, some sort of acknowledgement. And that comes to, like, my bigger point with this movie in particular, where is it fair to judge this movie by what they presented, or am I allowed to judge this movie based on what they didn't give us? Now, when I say that, when I say what they didn't give us, the person that was originally cast to play Bob was Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead and from Beef. He was originally supposed to play the Void. Now, the actor that played the Void, I thought he did a great job, but I think Steve would have did a better job. Taskmaster. Taskmaster had a lot more scenes than what was portrayed in the movie. Like, she was in essentially the first scene and got killed off immediately in reshoots or whatnot. Now, by them taking all of her scenes out, it affected Ghost's character because Ghost and Taskmaster throughout the movie had a lot of scenes together. So when they cut out Taskmaster scenes, they pretty much gave Ghost nothing to do. So am I allowed to judge the movie based on what they took out? Because it did affect the movie that they gave us. I remember leaving the theater thinking, okay, all these characters had this, and this going on. But Ghost was just kind of like just there, and they didn't really give her a lot to do outside of the beginning, and she didn't really have a lot of dialogue, not a lot of explanation or anything. And I was like, I wonder why that is. And when I got home, did a little bit of research or whatnot, I found that they originally had a lot more to do with Taskmaster, and Taskmaster scenes were linked to Ghost's scenes. So once Taskmaster is gone, Ghost character, all their stuff is gone. So I kind of try to find the line between being fair and unfair when it comes to critiquing this movie. And I don't know, it's a balancing act. So I'm not sure what it is or how we're supposed to, critique these movies when there's so much like bad channel and behind the scenes stuff. And it's just like, this movie was only 2 hours long. And if you told me that the scenes with Taskmaster and Ghost would have made the movie better, I'm fine for making the movie pushing 2.5 hours if it makes the movie better. Because in my opinion, I feel like the movie is worse because they didn't give Ghost and Taskmaster enough room for their characters to breathe in this movie. So I would have liked a little bit more of those characters in particular. Now, when it comes to the characters that they did show and that they did give a lot of space to, Elena's character, I really enjoyed her. I really enjoyed how they leaned into her depression and her darkness and the bad things that she did. I wish they would have done a little bit more of that with Black Widow's character. But with Elena, they showed you like, oh, she's just out here killing people and she doesn't care. And she has a drinking problem and she doesn't like what she's doing. And she doesn't really want to be here. She mentally, emotionally is just gone. And she doesn't feel like she has any purpose. And I get that. Like, I get her not feeling like she has any purpose. John Walker, the same thing. You went from, being a decorated soldier to being Captain America to, losing all of that stuff. You're no longer Captain America. You got shamed for, publicly killing a guy. You got, discharged from the military. So you lost your family. So if you're, a military vet and you lose the ability to serve your country and then you lose your family, it's easy to just kind of just fall off and just be like, well, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Now, with Red Guardian's character, I wish they would have delved a little bit more into his story, because even in Black Widow, they showed his past in conjunction with Natasha's, but they didn't really show his past in particular. Like when he talks about the glory and fighting for your country, like, what is it that he did that ended him in jail, that ended him discarded by his country, that they kicked him out and he just wasn't deemed worthy enough? What is it that happened to him to where he fell off so hard? And they never really dove into his story. The same with Ghost, and obviously with Ghost, Taskmaster, that's why they took away her stuff. But I would have liked to get a little bit deeper into what those particular characters' backstories were, because we haven't really seen that much of them. When it comes to the villain, I did like how they dealt with his mental health, his drug abuse, his abuse, the abuse that he saw growing up as a kid with his parents. I like how, and his drinking, and I like how they just put all that in together to just be like, this guy, he's down on his luck. He's had problems, he's had issues, and he doesn't know how to get out of that. And it just kind of goes to show like we don't know what people are going through, and we don't know how people are going to respond to certain um, incidents and actions that happen with them. So I thought they did a good job not making it like corny or like a very after school special kind of, well, today we're talking about mental health and how you should help people out with that. Like I'm glad they didn't do that. Now when it comes to the actual Void and Sentry, I do feel like Marvel, they tend to overpower somebody's villains, and then once they show you all the things. I got dogs here. We're watching my parents and grandparents' dogs, so that's them making noise. But they tend to show, like with Sentry, they showed like he has the power of 1,000 suns and he has the powers of a god and all of the Avengers rolled in one, and he just handles the Thunderbolts with no problem, zero, absolute, no issues, doesn't break a sweat, can easily kill them without even thinking about it. And they show how powerful he is, and it's like, okay, if we do that, how do we beat him? How do these guys beat him? And it's, oh well, we got to write something in, so he's got a kill switch, get it out of here. He's done. So now with with the Void, he's has the same powers as the Sentry, but he also can just engulf a city in darkness and make everybody just disappear into himself. How do we get how do we get ourselves out of this? How do we beat this guy? Oh, well, the power of friendship, being nice, showing empathy, the same thing they did in Captain America 4, which I get it. Sometimes that is all it takes. Sometimes when you're down and you're depressed, sometimes all you really need is someone to really be there for you and to understand you and to support you. And sometimes that is enough. And in this case, it had to be enough, because if it wasn't, everybody would have been screwed. So I do think that Marvel should kind of push towards making longer movies if they are going to be good. I am a fan of this movie having nothing to do with the multiverse. Like, I'm glad there wasn't any variants, no multiverse, none of that stuff. I'm ready for the multiverse saga to be over. I'm ready to get back out of this. It was nice to get a old school grounded Marvel movie. I like the idea. I don't know where I saw this. I don't know if they actually said it, but whenever anybody touched Bob, or where they were in the Void, and they went to their past and their darkest moments, I like the idea of them calling it the shame rooms. Like, I really thought that they should have leaned more into that with all of the Thunderbolts. I thought that would have been a cool way to show that. But this is this is the second time that Marvel has tried to roll out this unstoppable being. Like in Secret Invasion, they had the one character that had all of the Avengers powers, and that, do you think we'll ever see that person again? Let me know in the comments if you can even remember that person's name, because I can't off of the top of my head. But this is kind of the second go around when it comes to like this ultra uber powered villain slash hero. And when it comes to the shame rooms, it does remind me of what Wanda did in Age of Ultron, when she would get into their minds and show kind of the dark sides of and their deepest, darkest fears in those movies. And like I said, I really wish they would have delved more into the other characters. We've obviously seen like enough of like Bucky and his backstory, because he's been a staple in the MCU at this point. And it kind of feels like Sentry or the Void, he might be a replacement for Vision, who was another one of those all powerful, can do everything kind of superheroes. But yeah, I like I said, I did enjoy this movie. I still think Marvel has got to get a grip on these trailers, man. Like, I saw one trailer where they actually showed the Void and his powers. They showed too much of the action sequences. They showed too much of the story. I just, like, these trailers are way too long, and then they're showing way too much. Before we get into the actual like review of the 5 questions that I had, I will say, if we were to take like the best parts of like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America 4, and the Thunderbolts, there's something there. Like I feel like Falcon and the Winter Soldier as a TV show should have been Captain America 4 as far as story arc, development, emotional um growth and all of that stuff. That should have been its own movie. And it should have been closer together with the Thunderbolts. There should have been some crossover between with like the crossovers right there. The connecting character should have been Bucky. Bucky connects Captain Sam Wilson to the Thunderbolts, and it's just an easy connection. Like Sam Wilson not being in this movie is pretty annoying. The more I think about it, it is annoying that he wasn't in this movie or even mentioned. Like he's Captain America, he's a leader of the Avengers. Bucky was in Captain America 4. Like just get this together. So let's go into the 5 questions that I hoped to be answered in this movie, and we'll kind of talk it out and see if Marvel, answered the questions that I had. Number 5, can the MCU can MCU movies work without a big bad? I would say yes. I think Marvel has a history of making movies that are successful without having a big bad, a big, like a Thanos or a Kang or even a Loki. And I think the Thunderbolts, it works. Void in Sentry, even if he is an Avenger level threat, in my opinion, this movie still works because he's not like the villain that's over the entire universe. So that answered my question. So we're 1 for 1. Where does this movie fit in the timeline for Captain America 4? Does this movie happen before whatever happens in Captain America 4, or does it happen after, or is it happening at the same time? So that's a pretty easy one. This happens right after Captain America 4, even though in this movie they act like Captain America 4 never happened by never mentioning Captain America. My main sticking point, honestly, why is Bucky doing this? Okay, that was. Let's go a little bit more into the question. It felt like at the end of Captain America and Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it kind of felt like he was ready to be out the game. Like he went through a lot of like traumatic personal events. He has his terrible past that he took a long time to get over. He had to go all the way to Wakanda to get his mind right. I don't know why he would don the metal arm, the vibranium arm that was in his dishwasher, and get back out in the field like this. Like that, I need to know why he's doing this, because based on the trailer, it doesn't seem like he's being mind controlled. So that would be a big question I would need answered. So it seems like it's basically because Bucky's in politics, and he doesn't trust V's character. He doesn't trust the director of the CIA, and he feels like the only way he can help and intervene and stop V from whatever he is doing is by reverting back to being the Winter Soldier. Not being the Winter Soldier in terms of like being a contract killer, but in terms of his spying and trying to turn people and fighting alongside the Thunderbolts and turning them and all that good stuff. But him being a congressman, it just kind of just came out of nowhere. Like if you go back and watch all of Bucky's interactions throughout the MCU, him ending up being a congressman just doesn't make sense. Like it would make more sense if they actually showed him like campaigning and showing why he would want to be a congressman or why people would vote for him. I would have that's a Disney Plus show right there. Show me Bucky's campaign. Show him on the campaign trail where he has to shake hands and hold a baby with a vibranium arm. So I think that was kind of a missed opportunity there. Number 2, what has Taskmaster, Ghost, and the Red Guardian been doing all this time? So like so they didn't really get into even when it comes to why Bucky was out doing the things that he was doing. Why does Ghost decide to, work for the CIA? Like, she just has no other options? Red Guardian, he was kind of in that, Endgame Hulk mode where he just was kind of just like sitting around wallowing in his depression. which, yeah, I mean, you don't really need to get too deep into that. Taskmaster, just there for cannon fodder, apparently. Where have you guys been? What have you been doing? I have a theory that the Red Guardian, they're gonna put him on that Thor post end or pre end game track where he's just fat, out of shape, and doesn't care, and he's just not trying to do it, and he's gonna get talked into doing it. I think that's how they're gonna do him. Um, and my last question that I would really like to have answered is, going forward, will the MCU focus on more street level, more realistic, non multiverse centered movies? Like, obviously, the answer is no. The answer is no. Uh, there's been way too many reports about Spider-Man 4 and what direction they're going in. The way Spider-Man 3 ended, it felt like Spider-Man is getting back to his roots of protecting the neighborhood. But based on our reports, Spider-Man 4 is not going to be like that. It's going to be back to the multiverse, so probably bring back the old Spider-Mans again. We have, obviously, Doctor Doom, Doomsday, Secret Wars, X-Men going to be introduced. Like, you just have to have, there's no room for that right now in this the multiverse saga. There's no room for Shang-Chi to be just a grounded, movie. There's no space for Spider-Man to just handle street level crimes and deal with like the Scorpion or Kingpin. There's no room for a Daredevil. There's just no room right now, and they're not going in that direction. I feel like I keep saying this. I know that these movies will be good. I believe Fantastic Four will be good. I believe Doomsday will be good, and I believe Secret Wars will be good. I'm just ready to go back to Spider-Man dealing with one villain one on one, or two villains at the most. I want to see what Shang-Chi can do by himself. I don't need to see every superhero, every Marvel character, every X-Men, every Avenger, every space alien. I don't need to see everybody on the screen at the same time. Give some of these characters time to breathe by themselves, and we're not going in that direction. So that's kind of my thoughts on the movie in general and kind of the future of where they're going. I do want to kind of talk about the post-credit scenes. The first one, initial, it was funny. It was cool to see, Red Guardian trying to sell his face. He really wants to be that guy, to be a celebrity, and that's fine. And that was a cool scene. The final post-credit scene, the idea that they did an 18-month time jump, or it was either 14 months or 18 months, but over a year time jump. And the biggest sticking point is Sam Wilson is there's copyright infringement on the Avengers as a name. And it just, I get it. It's supposed to be funny, but it's just like Sam Wilson couldn't even get a loan at one point. Like, if you go back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he couldn't get a loan. He couldn't get approved for a loan because he doesn't get paid. He works for the government, so how can he sue for copyright infringement when the Thunderbolts work for the government also? Like, they're all under the same umbrella, so why can't, like, he's supposed to be in charge of the Avengers, but like, if he was in charge of the Avengers, he would have been in this movie, or at least mentioned, but that's neither here nor there. The idea that they looked into space and saw the Fantastic Four ship in their dimension or a different one, whichever one it's in, as soon as the screen went black in the theater, I looked at my wife and I said, they got me. I'm back. I'm all the way back. Like, that's all it takes for them to get me back into Marvel. Like, I can say, I can critique these movies all I want. I can talk about some of the good stuff and talk about some of the bad stuff and how I don't like the direction they're going in. But that post-credit scene, seeing that, knowing, like, I know Fantastic Four is coming. I know that they're going to be here because I saw the trailer. I saw a trailer for that movie. I know who Mr. Fantastic is. I know who the Thing is. I know who Sue Storm is. I know who the Human Torch is. I've seen these people, so I know we're getting a Fantastic Four movie. This isn't like the end of the Eternals where Star Fox shows up, Thanos' brother shows up as Harry Styles. We're not getting that. No one. That's gone. Who cares? They can just put that out there, and will we get it? No. If we don't get it, does anybody care? Also, no. The end of Thor: Love and Thunder. Hercules shows up. Do you think we're ever gonna see him? You think Roy Kent is gonna come through the door? No. And when he doesn't, do you think anybody's gonna care? Also, no. But this is different. I know the Fantastic Four are coming, and I know it's gonna be great because Pedro Pascal is always in great stuff. So, yeah, that post-credit scene, it got me. Marvel got me, and it was just great to get that old feeling back, where it's just like post-credit scene, you see Thor's hammer. Post-credit scene, you see T'Challa in Wakanda. Post-credit scene, you see the Collector getting the Infinity Stones. He's gathering them all over the place. Post-credit scene, Loki, oh, I'm coming back. Thanos, oh, I'll do it myself. All these things were happening, and you know that it was leading to something bigger and better. And that's what this post-credit scene brought out of me. Where it's just like, oh, we are back. We're back to being back to being like capital M, capital C, capital U. Like, we're back on top. Like, this is the direction that we're going, and I'm super excited. Now, like I said in the previous video, I would recommend this movie. I would like to watch it again. I thought it was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. It was better than Captain America 4. And I will say this before Fantastic Four comes out. Fantastic Four, it needs to be in the conversation for the best Marvel movie ever. Based on the cast, based on the writing, the directing, and what it's supposed to set up. This movie, Fantastic Four, it cannot be on the level of Thunderbolts. It cannot be on the level of Captain America 4. It has to be in the conversation where we're like, is this better than Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Is this better than Avengers Infinity War? Is this better than Civil War or the Winter Soldier or Iron Man 1? It needs to be in that conversation in terms of greatest MCU movies ever, in terms of greatest superhero movies ever, in terms of greatest comic book movie ever. So, like I said, I'm excited for that movie. I can't wait to see it, and I will be back here on this channel to talk about that. If you want more content, we have plenty of content. It'll be leaked right here or somewhere on your screen, so click there. Like the video, drop a comment on what you thought about Thunderbolts or the new Avengers. Let me know what you guys think. Hit the subscribe button. Stop watching my channel. Well, don't stop watching it. Watch the videos, but subscribe. Please subscribe. Appreciate it. Peace.
Thanks for watching, babe. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel.